It's very funny. But people keep insisting on making life complicated. And they do this in so many different ways. One set of people will come up with a new law that is not an improvement on the laws that were already in place. Another set of people, let's call them service providers, will make up new regulations. Again, nothing better than what was already in place. Then there are the product developers. Let us take a mythical operating system, for example. It started with a bunch of little icons, and with them you could call up a program originally written for a command line interface. Well, this grew and grew and grew and grew. And now there are so many bits and pieces meant to make it work better that you wonder sometimes where the operating system ends and the application begins. And the command line interface, my God, I think in a couple of generations that poor old thing will be gone. I don't know about you, but I'll hate to see it go. I used to love playing with escape sequences and ASCII codes and just seeing what the hardware could be made to display. Thank God our hardware hasn't gotten that complicated. Our hardware still responds to a very basic set of needs, a basic set of need displays, a basic set of need fulfillment, and responses to fulfillment of those needs. When you're hungry, the hardware tells you, I need fuel. And so you go and eat. The issue with those who overfuel is that they have forgotten how to listen to the body, because just like the fuel tank on a motor vehicle, your body has a signal that tells you when it has enough fuel on board. And you can imagine being at the gas pump as a driver and constantly pouring fuel from the pump into the gas tank until it overflows, spills out of the tank down the side of the car, onto the ground around the vehicle, forming a pool. Now this is a very dangerous situation, because all it takes is one spark. And you can just see that unfold. Like that situation, there is a similar one with the body. too much fuel. And again, you have a disaster waiting to happen. Only this time, the spark involves electrical signals traveling between the heart and the brain, or it involves signals between the arterial walls and the brain. The arterial walls are muscular, and too much fuel can cause those muscular walls to develop fatty deposits, which are no more than the excess fuel spilling out and expressing itself. And yes, I know you do not have them. You are lucky. But it can happen to anyone. We will endeavor to make sure that it neither happens to you or to me, because either way would be a disaster. But what happens with this type of fuel overage? I don't know if you know, but it's very interesting. The brain keeps getting a signal that the pressure in the arterial walls is sufficient, and it keeps the muscular contractions at the same rate, thinking that the arterial flow is stable. However, what is happening is that as the arterial walls narrow, the pressure is climbing, but the brain is not getting this signal. And eventually, there might be what is called a cerebrovascular accident, where a small break in an arterial capillary occurs, and blood actually spills out into the brain. It's all right. You need not be frightened. It is not happening to you. I am only telling you what can happen and why eating healthier is essential. You can be very comfortable observing this happening to, say, a crash test dummy rather than yourself. But when too much fuel ceases to flow into the body, the arterial walls actually open up. The plaques clean themselves out like little scrub brushes were at work. And while the brain still receives the same signal, it is now receiving this signal entirely appropriately because the pressure is normal. Also, as weight drops off, you feel better as a whole. You find yourself able to exercise for longer periods because you don't have the excess baggage slowing you down. And guess what? I'm not just making this one for you. I'm making it for me too. I'm going to listen to this one. I'm making it for all of us who need to think before we take fuel on board the machine that is the human body. And you'll feel much better when you awaken for having observed this process and knowing how to take the right turn in the road in order to avoid it. Think of this as one of those little educational videos that you might have seen in health class when you were growing up. Only thing is, this is one they never thought to show you because it didn't yet exist. The knowledge may have been there, but perhaps the production capability was lacking. Now, at your own pace, at your own speed, reorient to your body. Come back to the room you're in. Talk to me again